What's the worst thing that can happen as a presenter? You're giving a presentation and you feel like you are on a sinking ship. Stay tuned on Moxie Talk. We are going to discuss how to recover from giving the Titanic of presentations. Hi everyone, I'm Fia Fasbinder and welcome to Moxie Talk, where we help you find your voice, share your message, and lead with confidence. Today we are talking about how to recover from a bad presentation. Now, I'm going to tell you that I have given plenty of disastrous presentations in my life, and I think probably half of our business at Moxie comes from people who have just delivered a disastrous presentation. So we know a thing about failed presentations here at Moxie, and I want to unpack what I've learned from my own failures, from helping clients with their failures, and how to help you fail in a way that is going to lead to improvement in your presentations. Now, it really all boils down to mindset. It really does. And there are 5 techniques that I have discovered with clients. They're basically mindset shifts that you'll need to make if you want to recover quickly from a bad presentation. If you want to lay in bed and eat ice cream and feel sorry for yourself, don't watch this video. But if you want to be able to dust yourself off, get back out there and recover quickly, then these mindset shifts are really going to be helpful. Now, the first mindset shift that you need to make is to change your perspective. Now, there are macro failures that we make in life, huge failures, and there are micro failures. In the scheme of things, macro failures are losing a person you love, losing your job, being in a horrible car accident, and facing illness. Micro failures are failures like maybe having a failed presentation. Now, I know that this feels like a macro failure, but we as humans tend to make macro failures out of micro failures. We catastrophize things. We are the only animals on the planet that have the ability to catastrophize, to imagine worst case scenario. We have these big brains, and because of that, we worry and we catastrophize and we think about the worst things that can happen. And we absolutely do this if we are walking away from a major presentation that we just bombed. Now, it's important to remember the rule of 10 when this presentation happens. You're walking away and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I just failed. I'm never going to, eat lunch in this town again. I'm never going anywhere in my career. They'll never invite me to present again. Think about it this way, the rule of 10 test, and this is something I ask my clients. Is this going to matter in 10 minutes? Probably. What about 10 days? It'll probably still matter in 10 days, but I'm going to let you decide that. What about 10 months? 10 years? So if you really think about this presentation or this failed presentation in the larger scheme of things, you start to have perspective. You start to frame how big of a failure was this? And it's important to do this because you want to think about overall how this failed presentation is going to affect your life. If it's going to matter in a major way, like you will never work at this company again, yeah, this might matter in 10 months, but 10 years, probably not. So now that you've put a little perspective in place as far as the magnitude of this failure, the second mindset shift that needs to happen is to allow yourself to fail forward. Look, I know all of these mindset shifts are easier said than done. And unfortunately, as humans, we learn from our mistakes. That's just how it happens. I'm always telling this to my kids in their soccer games. Winning is great, but we learn from losing. It's just, that's the way it is. And the difference between most successful people and unsuccessful people is that the successful people don't become the victims of their mistakes. They don't become the victims. They don't wallow in their mistakes. They don't blame others. They don't pass the buck onto somebody else. They take responsibility for the failures. And you'll need to look really, really closely and take a hard look at how you failed. I know this is super uncomfortable and it's ugly to look at how we failed. It is not cute. But once you do this, once you say, okay, I failed, I want to get better. What I was doing is not working, so I am going to make a strategy to change things up. I am going to make a game plan to not make the same failure again. This is literally the pivotal moment that successful people understand, whatever industry they're in, whether they're keynote speakers, athletes, performers, leaders of successful companies, they understand that failure is a part of life. I mean, this is a true statement. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? I have seen this kind of accountability, dusting off after a presentation failure and getting right back at it, lead to so many public speaking transformations. I can't even count. I'm going to give you a couple examples because I'm hoping that this will motivate you. From a doctor who completely froze during a presentation to medical students, to a group of people that were giving a pitch presentation that was so bad the investors literally ended the presentation, to a very well-renowned architect who was eaten alive during a Q&A session for a huge building proposal that he was working on. These are all clients that have come to Moxie, have been willing to take a good, hard look at where they failed and made the super difficult decision not to lick their wounds, not to stay in bed eating ice cream, but to instead get back out there in the ring and fight again. I'm telling you, this ability to fail forward, as difficult as it is key. Now, the third mindset shift is pretty much related to this idea to fail forward. It's something that you need to do in order to fail forward, which is to not put so much time, energy, and effort worrying about what other people think of you after the failed presentation. This kind of worry is paralyzing. The thing about it, if you really think about it, is that we don't really care about failing. We care that people see us fail. And we worry about what they'll think of our failure. Now, this mentality is what psychologists call the spotlight effect, which means that we have this mindset, this psychological bias to think that people are paying more attention to us than they really are, and to think actually they're paying attention to us in a negative way. This is true, but this kind of thinking, as difficult as it is to shake, is going to stop your progress. And I know you're probably thinking, I can't help worrying about what people think. And I know it's difficult. We're human. We are social creatures. It's part of our DNA to worry about what people think. In fact, Charles Darwin thought that maybe speech anxiety was related to this idea that anything that made us think we are going to be ostracized from the clan would cause us to go into fight or flight. And if you think about it, the kind of modern day clan that we have is our team at work or our audience. And if we're so worried that, oh my gosh, they're going to cast me out, they're not going to like me, they're going to wonder why I was chosen to do this presentation, then all of our energy is going in the wrong direction. So I get it. If Charles Darwin had a theory about this, this means that it's bucking survival instinct, what I'm asking you to do. And I get it. It really is. I worry about what people think of me all the time. We all do. But we have to try as much as we can to make our energy forward, to make our energy focused on how can I improve? How can I do better next time? What do I need to do better? Literally moving the energy forward, failing forward, because worrying about what people thought about the failure in our presentation is backwards. We are worrying about something that happened in the past that we cannot control. We cannot control what people think of us. What we can control is what we're going to do about this failed presentation. So as hard as it is, as much as you need to wrangle with this, you must try to worry less about what people think about your failure and focus all that energy on doing better. And if you find yourself starting to think about what people thought about the failure again, switch it. Recognize, oh, I'm worrying again about what they thought. I'm going to make the decision now to change my thought pattern and to think about how to improve this. It really is. You're going to catch yourself doing this a lot, and you are going to have to make the decision to change your mindset. It's a mindset shift. It really is. So the fourth mindset is being open to feedback. I know you're probably thinking now, I can feel your guys' eyes rolling at me that every single one of these mindset shifts are difficult. I know if this stuff was easy, everybody would be amazing at everything they do. They would learn from all of their mistakes. Everybody would be successes. Nobody would let their failures stop them. And this would be really easy. I get it. It's not easy, but this really is the path that I have discovered to be the most effective to recover, dust off from anything, especially a failed presentation. So the fourth mindset is feedback, being open to feedback, because most of us hate asking for feedback. And I get it. It is so vulnerable to ask people for feedback. It's like asking them to pay attention to you, which we already just talked about is difficult. And then most of us, when we get the feedback, we spend all of our time trying to justify why it wasn't right or prove that it isn't accurate, right? I get it. Feedback is tough, even for me. But the most successful people in the world solicit feedback. Feedback is built into every coaching program and training program we do at Moxie because we know it's the difference between good and great. It really is. If you think about it, feedback is the most accurate rear view window we have. Without feedback, all we know is how we felt about that presentation or how we think other people felt about the presentation. Soliciting feedback, you get some real feedback from people that are not you, and you actually ask them what they thought about your presentation instead of just assuming what they thought about it. Otherwise, we really don't know. We have no idea if what we felt is accurate. So one thought leader that I love is Adam Grant. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him. He is an amazing psychologist. He wrote a best-selling book called Option B, along with the CEO of Facebook. And he grew up as a swimmer. He was a diver, actually. And he tells the story that when he was diving, he would think that and feel in his body that he was doing the dives correctly, but he was getting low marks from the judges. So finally, he decided to have his coach videotape him and then give him feedback afterwards. And he could see, because of the feedback, the difference between how he felt and what he was actually doing. And this can be applied exactly like that to presentations. Get a trusted advisor. It could be somebody that you work with. It could be a spouse. It could be another presenter that's really great. Ask them for feedback. Ask them what is working in your presentation and what you should change. And speaking of videotaping yourself, this is so difficult, but I guarantee you, you will learn so much about yourself as a presenter. Your eyeballs are not going to melt out of your head, and you will see so many things. If you're moving too much, if you're speaking too fast, if your eyes are darting, if you are using filler words, what's going on with you when you present? So feedback really is a mindset shift that you need to make if you are going to recover from a failed presentation. Fifth, last but not least, mindset shift is to celebrate your wins. Now, we've talked a lot in this video about your failures. We've focused on the failure, right? And we do this as human beings. It's actually called the negativity bias. It's a psychological term that means that we are hardwired to focus on negative experiences. They say that negative experiences in our brain are like Velcro. We hold on to them, and positive experiences in our brain are like Teflon. We push them out. And this is part of our evolution. It made sense to focus on negative things when we were cave people. It would not make sense to say, oh, I hear a rustling in the bush. I should just probably relax and breathe. I doubt it's a saber-toothed tiger. No, we had to think there are dangerous things in those bushes. Every time we heard a rustling in the bush, it would make sense to think, I better run. But this kind of negativity bias really does not serve us in our modern day. And it's really easy to get in the trap of only focusing on what we did wrong and what we need to improve. But sitting in our accomplishments and being proud of our small wins is just as crucial as focusing on what we need to improve. In fact, it's equally as important, because when we focus on the things we're doing right, our brain emits dopamine, and hits of dopamine are addictive. They're as addictive as sugar and cigarettes. So the more you can help yourself focus on the small wins, the more motivation you're going to have to keep going towards that goal. That is tough. So a balance between this is where I need to go, these are the things I need to improve, and hey, look at all this stuff I've already done. Look at all these small steps I've made towards that. So important. Now that we've covered 5 mindset shifts that you can make to recover quickly from a failed presentation, it's important to remember this. You are only one presentation away from success. It's true. Your next presentation might be that successful presentation. And success breeds success. Confidence brings confidence. You just need a little momentum to get you there. So the next time you bomb a presentation, instead of shrinking in the corner and deciding never to do it again, I want you to think, I'm grateful for this experience. Take a moment to dust yourself off. Think about these 5 mindset shifts and get right back at it. I know you can do it. If you liked this video, please make sure to share it, subscribe to our channel, like the video, and if you want to know more about the kind of feedback we give at Moxie Institute and what we can do to help you with your next presentation, check out moxieinstitute.com. See you next time.